As many of you know, Lancaster County has recently experienced a number of violent crimes, particularly cases involving home invasions and sexual assault against women and children. Sadly, it seems like every day there's a different headline in the news about a burglary, a sexual assault, a murder, or all three combined into one horrific incident. For instance, last September, I read this headline in the Lancaster newspaper: "Stranger charged in Lancaster woman's home invasion stabbing." The story detailed one of the most vicious and terrible crimes I have ever read about. The details truly are horrifying. A man broke into a Lancaster City woman's second-story apartment, where he then stabbed her more than 20 times and slit her throat before fleeing with a number of stolen items. That man, who police believe picked his victim at random, is currently on trial for attempted homicide, aggravated assault, robbery, and burglary, among other charges. While this crime occurred in Lancaster City, it's important to note that this is just not a city issue. It's a county and a statewide problem. We are sometimes quick to chalk violent crime up as, quote, an urban issue, unquote, that mostly affects our cities. That's simply not the case. East Lampeter Township, Ephrata, Salisbury Township, Paradise Township, Lidditz, Providence Township, Marietta, Lancaster Township, Manheim, even my hometown of Leola and Upper Laycock Township. These criminals do not discriminate on the basis of urban, suburban, or rural settings. They are targeting victims all across our county. Late last year, $18,000 worth of jewelry and other items were stolen from a Providence Township home. And just last month, 5 individuals were charged for an armed home invasion and burglary in East Lampeter Township. Equally concerning are the sexual assault cases that have been occurring. A couple years ago, an Elizabethtown man was charged with sexually assaulting a 4-year-old girl. And just last week, a Bainbridge man pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting 3 young girls in Crawford County, where he previously lived over an 8-year period. And even more recently, as I stand here speaking about this issue today, victims continue to come forward alleging that a Gordonville man sexually assaulted them. These are just a few examples on the long and growing list of crimes that are being committed. And this is just flat out unacceptable. While each of these examples are shocking and abhorrent representations of the worst actors in our society, the case that really does stick out in its barbarity occurred last December. It's the case involving 6th grade teacher Nicole Mathewson. This case hit close to home for me because Miss Mathewson taught at Brownstown Elementary School in the Conestoga Valley School District, which is the legislative district that I represent and the one that I grew up in. I have friends and I have neighbors whose children had Miss Mathewson as a teacher. They are as appalled as I was at this, and I still am trying to comprehend what happened there. I'm sure most of you do know about this case. To quote District Attorney Stedman, quote, "Words cannot capture just how shocking and dreadful the facts are," unquote. Miss Mathewson was woken up in the middle of the night by a pair of would-be burglars who then beat her and sexually assaulted her. These monsters left Miss Mathewson alone to die as they fled in the scene in her car. And as I stand here now, even reciting this awful story, I can still feel the rage, and it was rage, that ran through me when I first read the account in the newspaper months ago. I was so incensed and felt, what can I do? I think a lot of people in the community felt, what can they do to make a difference? That I decided right away to call District Attorney Stedman. It was within 24 hours that I called Craig to discuss, is there something we can do legislatively, something that can be done at the state level to help prevent tragedies like this from occurring again. So together with Senator Ahmet and also Representative Hickernell, who was here, he had an interest in this also, we met with Craig, DA Stedman, to discuss a number of potential bills to address crime and sentencing issues. Representative Menser subsequently expressed his interest in joining our efforts, and from there we got to working on drafting 3 bills that we plan on drafting in the very near future, if not today, very early next week. We also call on our colleagues in the State House and the State Senate to please join our efforts to ensure that these violent and heinous crimes are met with justice by signing on as co-sponsors of these bills. Senator Almond and I will be concurrently introducing bills in the House and Senate that address the burglary and child sexual assault. And I'm going to briefly describe the burglary bill and let Senator Almond describe the child sexual assault bill, and then we'll turn it over to Representative Menser so that he can talk about and describe his bill. It is my firm belief that our home is our castle. This concept has been enshrined in Western civilization since the days of the Roman Republic. As our castle, our home is supposed to be our safest refuge. Residents should feel safe in their own homes, because if they aren't safe there, then they are not safe anywhere. My bill aims to restore residents, our bill, Representative Almond in the Senate also, aims to restore residents' peace of mind by increasing the punishment for burglary offenses. Specifically, it institutes a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years for first-time burglary offenses and 10 years for subsequent offenses. People do not have a right to invade your home. The criminals who committed unspeakable acts on that night in mid-December did not have the right to invade Miss Mathewson's home. She lived by herself in that home, which, according to friends she cherished, she often welcomed people into her home, and she was never fearful of being alone as a single woman because she loved her neighborhood and the people that were in it. Miss Mathewson represented the best of our community. The main objective of my bill is to bring about justice for victims like Miss Mathewson by ensuring that criminals who violate the sanctity of other people's homes are met with a punishment that truly fits the crime.